Hi, my name is Niklas Hallin and this is the Neckbolt Devlog. Today I'm gonna talk some more about puzzle design, and this time we will take a closer look at Super Mario.
So, I've never really liked Mario games. Well, I guess you could say I've never really liked action games in general. To be frank, I did really enjoy Super Mario Land 2, which I played through last year. But that was on the Game Boy, and thus it was slow and sluggish, and you rarely had more than one or two things on the screen at once. It wasn't much of an action game at all, really, and that suited me perfectly. Turns out it wasn't really representative for the series though. But yeah, so which Mario game is the best one? I have at least tried several of them, and the one I'm going to talk about today is Super Mario Galaxy 2, I think. I don't know if what I say will be true for Galaxy 1 as well, but anyways. So you are traversing a completely arbitrary world without any sense of purpose or direction, except that you have to collect a large amount of gold stars. Fair enough. But then, sometime into the game, they introduce silver stars. Oh, thought I, something new. I wonder what this will do. Well, it turns out if you collect 2 silver stars, that automatically translates into 1 gold star. Ah, I literally said aloud. So, it's just a little bit more pain in the ass for the player. A task that used to take 1 action to complete now takes 2 actions. Nothing new is added, something old just gets more tedious. I kinda stopped playing shortly after that, so maybe they do something very interesting with the silver stars later on, but anyway, it's time I started talking about what any of this has to do with the elephant game. As you might know, one of the things the little elephant can do is push boxes around and use them to hold down buttons. I'm trying to use these boxes for as many different kinds of puzzles as possible, and I have recently added a cousin to the default wooden box, the so-called empty box. This is a box with its top lid removed, which means you can see that there is nothing inside. You can push it around like any other box, but because it's hollow, it's not heavy enough to actually weigh down a button. What you can do, however, is to fill the box up with water in order to make it heavier. Pretty cool, eh? Well, not really. For a long time I didn't want to add this feature because, as you may have noticed, it's basically just a regular box, except you have to fill it up before you can use it. Just like the silver stars in Mario Galaxy, this empty box replaces the regular box without doing a better job, and it's in fact even more troublesome to use. It just adds an extra step to a solution that used to be simple. So why is the empty box in the game then? Well, I have mentioned before in these video blogs that I avoid adding features unless I can use them for at least 3 separate things, and I simply came up with more ways to use the empty box. For one thing, it's much lighter, which means it's much quicker to push around. I made this puzzle where you push the box in front of you as protection. You could do this with a regular box as well, but that would take something like 4 times longer because the heavier box is slower to move. So in this scenario, the lightness of the empty box is an advantage. I know I keep going on and on about how obstacles become advantages and advantages obstacles and so on, but that is very important for me as a designer. I guess this episode is a sort of partner episode or continuation to the Iron Boots one. But the really cool thing is that when the empty box is filled with water, you can actually use it as a new water source, meaning that you can now fill your trunk using the water from inside the box. And this is incredible because it means you suddenly have a source of water that you are free to push around to wherever you need it. That's something the regular old box could never do, and that alone justifies the addition of the empty box as a feature. And yes, by the way, this is inside the first dungeon, which I mentioned in the last episode, the ghostly crypt beneath the Sunder Garden. I just started working on it last week. So yeah, I basically just did the whole episode on how I am so much smarter than the designers behind Mario Galaxy, which wasn't really my intention, but I'm thinking there's some sort of game design lesson in there somewhere if you're interested. Something like, if you put a new feature in your game, think about what it actually adds to the gameplay. Does it add more opportunities to branch out, or does it just add more hoops for the player to jump through in order to complete simple tasks? That's all for today's episode, but stay tuned for next week when I'll be back. This whole project is funded via Patreon, and if you want to help out, it would be super cool if you could head over there and subscribe. Your contribution is what makes this game possible. You can also subscribe on YouTube and follow me on Twitter for quick updates. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.